Every office has one. He's usually called Nigel and he works in accounts. You know the type of person, the one that's hugely reliable and very dependable and not very exciting. They just get on with the job. They don't try and make a mark for themselves. They're not trying to be big or clever about anything. They just come in every morning on time, at the same time, and get on with the job. They take their lunch break at the same time every day. They finish work at the same time every day. They take their holidays at the same time every year. They're not here to make a difference. They're here to do a job. They're not going to try and snog Jenny from HR at the Christmas party or photocopy their arse and stick it on the canteen notice board. No, that's not what they do. They're the type of person that the boss will turn to when he needs a job doing on time and done well. In other words, they are the Honda CRV of the office world. Now, I'm not being horrible, but since its launch in 1995, that's pretty much what the Honda CRV has done. It's just gone about its job of being a very reliable, very dependable, almost boringly efficient family car. And now there's a new one. Welcome to this week's new car review. Welcome to the new Honda CRV. Please sit yourself down, make yourself comfortable in the house of cars. Now, before I get started on this week's review of Honda's new CRV, I need to ask a wee favour. Do you mind? Sorry, but I've got a few subscribers, but I'd like an awful lot more. So if you could make sure that you are subscribed to the House of Cars channel, I really would appreciate it. And once you've done that, press the little bell button down below, because that's the way you get notified when my next video is uploaded and it's gone live. If you enjoy it, and I really hope you do, then give it a wee thumbs up, and of course, don't forget, leave me your thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about the cars that we feature on the House of Cars channel, such as obviously the Honda CRV, and of course on the channel as a whole. So, the Honda CRV, 6th generation car this is, since it was launched back in 1995. And things have changed since then, because this is now Honda's flagship car. It's got quite a few SUVs now, with the smaller, the HRV, the ZRV, the ENY1 electric car. But the CRV has been pushed up market. There's no more Accord now, and obviously no more Legend and things like that. This is the top of the range Honda. And it's also the most expensive at over £50,000 for this car here. Now that is a lot of money, but it's grown in size a little bit, because this sector that the new CRV sits in, the D segment sort of like SUV, is now the default kind of family car of choice, if you like. No more Accord, no more Ford Mondeo, no more Vauxhall Insignia. It's this size of SUV that families are looking at as their family car. But as I say, it's over £50,000 for this particular one, which is a lot of money for a family car. But as we're about to find out, this CRV, well, this one's a little bit different to what's gone before. But before we make a start on the actual road test, let's take a little snapshot about the main points of the new Honda CRV. Well, as I said, it's the 6th generation of CRV, and it now offers the choice of 2 electrified drivetrains, either a standard hybrid, or this, Honda's first ever plug-in hybrid for Europe. The CRV has grown in stature to comfortably fit within the popular D-segment SUV class that also includes such cars as the Toyota RAV4, the Lexus NX, Mazda CX-60 and Skoda Kodiaq. Whilst the standard hybrid can be had with all-wheel drive, the plug-in hybrid is front-wheel drive only. All models are equipped with a 2-litre 4-cylinder petrol engine, and 3 trim levels are available in the UK, with prices starting at just under £46,000 and climbing to over £55,000, depending on the trim level and drivetrain that's chosen. Which is a higher price point to where the CRV has been before. But as I say, with that slight push up market and that slight sort of like increase in size, does it now justify that more expensive price tag? Well, let's stick it through a House of Cars road test review and find out. So let's kick off with how the car looks. Now, Honda's styling over the years has always bordered on the conservative, I would suggest. They've had flashes of brilliance bordering on madness at times with the utterly fabulous little Honda E and some of the previous generation of Civics, granted. But on the whole, they tend to be a little bit more mature in their outlook, shall we say, when it comes to their styling. And that is because of the type of audience that Honda has always appealed to, that more kind of mature type of driver owner that will appreciate a lot of the qualities that Honda stands for. And it's much the same here. But of course we've got quite a more sophisticated look to the car to go along with that sophisticated price tag, dare I suggest. There's almost a little element of Mazda, I think, at the front here. I don't know if you can see it, but I can just see the way these beautiful kind of slim LED headlights just sit just under the sort of like the leading edge of the bonnet here. And then of course you've got this large open grille, which all blacked out on this top of the range model. I think it's a slightly more greyed version on the lower trims, but it's all blacked out here. And you get the blue tinge around the Honda badge as well, which lets you know it's slightly electrified. We'll talk about technicalities obviously in that section later. But a big open grille here, hexagonal sort of like shapes to it. As I say, you've got this lovely kind of LED headlight arrangement here that just sweeps back into the wings here, that's then dissected by the sort of like the top edge of the grille that runs through it. Down at the bottom, again, more cooling area here, with obviously you've got things such as your parking sensors. Really nicely integrated front-facing camera just under the Honda badge. Now there's a lot of tech on this new car, huge amount, as you'd expect, because obviously these type of cars are now getting a lot of tech. It's sort of becoming expected on them, and Honda knows that, so they've just thrown the box of tech at this car. What else have we got? Pretty much that's it. Your low set number plate, your nice little just like areas of black trim round there, and as I say, a low sort of splitter. I think it looks really nice in this crystal red premium metallic paint, I have to say, with the black trim on it. But yeah, as I say, it's pretty much as we've come to expect from Honda. You know, quite understated, a little bit conservative, but not exactly a bad looking car at the front. Now as we move along into the side of the car, you might see that it's grown in stature. 80mm longer than the previous CRV, but interestingly still only a 5-seater car. There's no 7-seat option on the CRV, not like some rivals have, so it's just still a 5-seater car. Big boot though, but I'll talk about that in the practicality section. Look at the side profile of it. No big fancy creases or slashes or anything, just a very, very nice strong character line along the shoulder, and that's it as it runs along there. Oops, I've just managed to lock it, well done. Wheel sizes, 18-inch only, so irrespective of model, it's 18-inch wheels. No smaller, no larger, that's it. Gloss black on this top of the range model. I think that's slightly more kind of graphite grey on the lower spec cars. You'll also notice a charging flap on this side, so it's on the near side. In terms of the UK side, you've got the charging flap because this is the plug-in hybrid, and then your fuel cap is at the back here. Big door mirrors mounted on the doors themselves, and again on the passenger side has a little camera embedded into it. Now that's not on the driver's side, and I'll talk about that, which is disappointing and curious at the same time. I'll talk about that in a little second. Sorry, I keep locking it. Good chunky door handles. Now look at this, this is something I do like, and if you're a regular viewer you'll know this. The doors go right underneath the sill. So if you're getting in the car and it's all muddy along the side of it because you've been driving down a forest track or whatever through puddles, and you're climbing in and out of the car, you're not going to be dragging your trouser leg or your skirt across a muddy sill. So I do like that. Well done, Honda. Privacy glass at the back, also you keep prying eyes out from whoever's sitting in the back seat. Gloss black roof rails, standard, all flowing into this nice sort of like spoiler at the back there, and as I say, obviously you've got your fuel cap there. Body colour wheel arches here, obviously the double kind of circle here, double arch, as I say, over those sort of like 18-inch wheels. But as I say, very, if we're being unkind, we call it maybe plain and mundane. If we're being kind about it, very conservative and just neat. Talking of neat, it brings us neatly round to the rear end of the car. A little bit of Volvo influence I see there. You know, the kind of Volvo style of lights on the XC16 cars. Yeah, and then the nice, just 3 little lamp signatures that inset into the boot area there. As I say, you've got this high set rear spoiler, high level brake light, obviously rear wiper, reverse camera tucked underneath here, quite a low load sill, so you know it comes down, the tailgate itself comes down quite low, and then you've got the chromed exhaust finishers, which are only an exhaust finisher on one side, which is this side. This one's fake, nothing in there at all, nothing to see here, folks. And then of course just your blue tinged Honda badge at the centre there. Right, so as I say, If we were being unkind, we'd call it a little bit conservative and boring. If we were being kind to it, we'd say it's just neat and inoffensive. And I'd say quite a mature looking car, I think. You know, so I'd say there's nothing flash, there's nothing fancy about it. It just, again, gets on with the job of being a Honda CRV. I have to admit, I do quite like the look of this car. I really do. As I say, Honda haven't tried to be big or clever about this. They've just designed a really neat looking, practical, you know, perfectly good looking, handsome family wagon. And I really like it, as I say, especially in this colour. Even my wife, the other day, when it arrived the other day, her office is at the front of the house, and when it arrived in the driveway, she's going, well, that looks quite nice. What is it? You know, obviously it's a Honda. So yeah, so as I say, it's quite a neat looking car, but there's no real flashes of brilliance or excitement in it, as we've seen with such rivals such as, you know, the new Hyundai Santa Fe. Controversial maybe, but I do think that's a cracking looking car. But what do you think? I mean, are you a CRV driver so far? Have you got the older model? Is this one sort of like ticking all your boxes? Is it tickling your pickle? Do you think that's exactly what I would want from a family sort of 5-seat SUV? As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Now, like I said, no 7-seat option, but you do have a big boot. And it's this plug-in hybrid that gets the biggest boot of the CRVs. For some reason, 617 litres of boot space that you get in the car. If you go for the standard hybrid, that drops to 587 litres. A standard 60-40 split rear bench will take the total capacity up to 1,710 litres. So that's all your boot space figures there. But look, 4 suitcases with ease goes in there, plus room for more, such as rucksacks. You probably also get, you know, jackets and soft bags even sitting on the top of that. Or if you've got, you know, like a children's buggy, a big buggy or whatever like that, that's going to go in there. Golf clubs are going to go in. Nice big tailgate, very wide opening. And as I say, look, it comes down a relatively decent height, and it's a flat load bay in. From there, so if you're just like putting stuff in, you know, you're not having to drop it down into a well or pull it up over a well, so that's quite good. I do like that. However, the plug-in hybrid also gets a movable boot floor, not a removable, a movable boot floor. So that's it when it is like the flat entry in, but you can drop it a few inches down there to give a bit more space. The downside then is there's a part of the floor there that means it ramps up as you put the rear seats down, so it's not flat going all the way through if you lower that floor. But it does give you a few extra inches, or, as you can see, there's some extra storage underneath for things like the charging cable, and you could probably put a few bits and pieces underneath there if you needed to. So in all fairness, it's a good practical size of boot, whether or not you lower that floor or not. There's some tie down locator bits down there. There's a couple either side here at the bottom, and then 2 chromed ones there, and then a nice roller blind that comes across as well. A couple of hooks up in the side panel there, and then there's also a 12-volt socket on that side, and you get nice bright LED lights to help you load in the dark. And obviously it's a power tailgate as standard. So yeah, good size of boot, very practical car. Rear seats. Very good. Plenty of space here. My driving position. In fact, actually, I think that seat slid slightly further back now. But I'm 5'8", so I can sit behind someone my size with bags of legroom. Plenty of footroom as well. I can get my feet right underneath the seat as well. You will get 3 across the bench as well because there's a flat floor. However, the only thing I will say is because of this big glass sunroof, when you've got an adult sat in this middle bit, their head's quite close to the roof because it obviously comes down to accommodate the sliding glass roof. So just be aware of that. But for children, no problem at all. And I say you will get 3 people across the back bench with ease. Talking to children, ISOFIX points. One of my absolute loves is manufacturers that make them nice and easy to get to. So just little plastic covers that pop off and then easy to locate in there. Now the bench itself will also recline. So this is it reclined. You can put it into, I think, 8 different positions you can put it into, depending obviously on how reclined your passengers want to be. But there you go, reclinable rear bench. Centre armrest, brilliant. 2 cup holders mounted in there. Plus as well, door bins, which they're not particularly long on the doors, but they are shaped for a bottle at the front and a little square section at the back. You've also got pockets on the backs of both front seats, which is excellent, and you've got 2 USB-C charging ports in the back as well, and nice face vents there as well. You've got heated rear seats in this particular model, obviously not on the lower down models. And as I say, bear in mind you've got that big glass panoramic roof there and a nice couple of LED lights above. Where it's lacking, as I say, obviously the lack of a 7-seat option, and there's not quite as much storage as you get in the likes of the new Hyundai Santa Fe. You know, there's no sort of real clever little hidey holes or cup holders mounted up in the door, you know, higher up the doors or anything like that. So it is quite basic in that terms, but all the basic stuff that you need is here. And in terms of actual space, it's certainly, I would say, good enough for a family of 5 to do a relatively long distance in the car. Now, one of the first things that I noticed when I got in the CRV, you know, before you've even got in the cabin, is the feel of the doors. I know it sounds a bit silly, but the door handle's got a really nice, I don't know how to describe it, it feels solid, you know, on the outside. And then when you do shut the door, it's a real proper thud. My daughter, a couple of times, she's been in the car and she's got out and she's gone to close the door and she hasn't closed it properly, you know, because it's got a real heft to it. So there is a feeling of quality, you know, say just little I like this, you know, I talk about it a lot in my reviews. Touch points, you know, when you grab something, when you touch it, does it feel like it's going to last? And I think that's one of the first things I noticed about the CRV. The second thing is the driving position, which is absolutely lovely, really lovely. These seats are really nice. I have to say, I think Honda put a bit of research into the seats, and there's a lot to commend. These have got just the right amount of lateral support down your side. They could do with being a tiny bit longer or having an adjustment for being longer in the squab, I think, for longer legged people, but they do sort of rise up and curl round at the front, so they are quite nice. So they do lift the backs of your knees ever so slightly, and obviously they're electrically adjustable and they've got memory position on this particular car as well, so that's quite good. The car's very well equipped as standard, irrespective of what trim level you go for. This is the advanced tech. I think it's there's two below this, but even the basic car, you know, it's still very well equipped. You know, with you know, sort of like heated seats and you know, and Apple CarPlay and that type of thing. But I'll go through prices and stuff in this pricing section. It's not all perfect up here, but it's very good. Right, first thing, driver's display. Okay, so 10.25 inch digital display, which Honda says configurable. To a point, they are right. I mean, what you have is 2 dials, effectively, and you can configure some of the information that's within the dials. But it's not like you get with the likes of Audi or Skoda, where you can, you know, you can't put the map in there. You can't put the GPS map services in there, for instance. That doesn't work, you know. So it's just, you still get the 2 dials, and then you can configure the bits of information that's within the dial. So you can have your trip meter there, for instance. You know, you can scroll through to see your mileage to go, your average, your navigation. Well, but again, it's a you know, a display within the dial. And then again, the same on this side. You know, there's no device connected at the moment, but for instance, you know, if you're playing media, it will give you a little album work over, but within the dial. So it is configurable to a certain extent, but not as good as other people do it. And again, there's quite a lot of information going on in there. You do look, it's very clear, you know, standard white on black stuff, but there is quite a lot of information going on. You get your fuel readout over on the right hand side, and on the left is the battery meter, and then, as I say, there's 2 dials, and then down the bottom there's a lot that goes on to tell you whether you're in EV mode or you know, a normal running in your drive modes and such like. So yeah, a lot to deal with. Now, I mentioned outside about the camera on that mirror. There's a lot of safety tech in the car, as I've said. One of the things that the Honda has is a blind spot monitoring system, and I thought, oh, that's good. It's got like Hyundai, and you know, when you flick the indicator stalk, an image comes up, but it doesn't come up here. It comes up on the infotainment screen. See that? So you get the image down the side there, but only on the left side, only on the near side. So if I flick the right indicator on, nothing. There's no camera there. Why have they not done that? Why? And I get, obviously, you know, it's blind spot, you know, if you're turning, you know, and you want to see a bike. But trust me, you're driving around about here or London or whatever, they're coming at you from all angles. I think that's a real faux pas. I think it needs it on both sides. I don't mind it so much being there because, they say, look at the image, it's quite big. You get the full screen image, not just in the dial there. But why isn't there one on the driver's side? There we go. So that's that. It doesn't have it. So yeah, just on the near side. Very odd. So that's your driver display there. I say I like the driving position. I've got to mention the steering wheel because this is certainly one of the nicest wheels in the class. I thought that the Skoda was too big. If you watched my Skoda Kodiaq review, if you haven't, I'll pop a link up to it before. Sorry, up in the corner there. This is just right. I like the girth of the wheel, the diameter's right. It's a nice simple 3-spoke design. Physical buttons on it, so your media controls on your left, cruise controls on the right. A heated steering wheel on this particular model, so your leather steering wheel with a heated element in it, and that's on the 3rd spoke down there. Just sits in your hand really nicely. I like that. 2 paddles behind the steering wheel which are attached to the wheel to adjust brake regeneration. Indicator stock on left with lights obviously, and wipers are on the right. Power button, switching it on, is on the right hand side, so it's not down there as I keep going for it. It's on my right knee. Over here is things like power tailgate, DSC off, and then obviously in the door are things like your electric window switches and your electric mirror controls. Very nice, very lot of physical buttons, as you can see. So it's all good to use, okay? I'll come on to this in a wee second. Let me just finish here first. So there's your heating and ventilation, which is nice. This little thin panel along here. Really like it. Again, on this model, we've got ventilated and heated seats. So the buttons are there for that. Nice and a really nice feel, but like I was saying with the door, you know, when you touch it, it's got a nice feel to it. The temperature knobs there, really nice physical controls there. They've got nice knurled bezels around them, really nice and thick, easy to use if you had a pair of gloves on, you know, and they just click as well, got a nice feeling of it. And then you can press the centre of them. So here it will display your fan speed here, for instance. Your auto climate, you just press the centre of that when it comes on. And then to sync up both sides is that one, and then physical buttons underneath as well. So I really like that. That's really nice. They're very easy to use, and again, you're driving along, they are just your left hand just immediately falls to it, so really easy to use on the move. This console area here, you've got a wireless charging pad in here, just the one, but there's a wireless charging pad there, and you've got storage next to it, but you've also got USB-A and USB-C ports there, plus a 12-volt socket. And then this area here that's quite neat with all the buttons, this is your transmission selection here. So park, bringing this back, puts it into reverse, and you can see obviously you get your reverse camera. Pushing for park, neutral, and then drive, and then another press puts you into B, into the brake regen mode. Okay, so that's those buttons there. Electric park brake here, plus a brake hold button. You've got parking here because the car will self park. Your drive mode selection, your E button for electric only running, and a hill descent control. Now, I'll go on to the technicalities after we finish in here, but basically if you have a plug-in hybrid, it's a 2-wheel drive only. If it's standard hybrid, it's all-wheel drive. Okay, so plug-in hybrids are just 2-wheel drive. Back from here, we've got 2 cup holders, big enough to take the water bottle, and a little tray behind as well. And this is again a bit of the quality I like. You know, you open it, look, it's just damped. Look at that, it's nice. It doesn't just flop around. It's just nicely damped. Like that, Honda. You get a little removable tray. It's relatively okay. I mean, you'll get a few packets of crisps or some Polar Mints in there. But again, there's no real kind of surprise and delight features with it. You know, like again, I was talking about the Santa Fe the other week. You know, where you've got that UV, the sanitizing kind of glove box thing. Nothing like that. And the Skoda Kodiaq, but it's twin glove boxes. Again, nothing like that. Just the one glove box in the CRV down there. But it takes a massive manual, a huge manual in the car. That's in there. Door bins are fine. They're obviously, you know, relatively decent enough. Plus, they will take, you know, that kind of water bottle, and they're shaped for that. But they're not lined. Now, some reviews have said about the quality of the lower down plastics being a bit disappointing. Yeah, okay, I will give you that, you know, for a 50-odd thousand pound car. But in fairness, I've seen a lot worse for an awful lot more money. In fairness, it's not bad, it's okay. But, you know, as I say, don't expect it to be, you know, sort of like lovely rubber lined door bins and stuff that's a bit plasticky on the door bins, which move around a little bit, and just down this console bit here. But I don't find it offensive. However, what I will say is this. This is a 9-inch touchscreen, which is your infotainment system, which I do find a little bit disappointing. So if I go to it here, you know, the resolution and, you know, the tiles on it and things like that, it's all a bit, I don't know, it's a bit my first navigation system. You know, it's not as sophisticated as I think it should be. And I find that a little bit disappointing with Honda. You know, with the little Honda E, they had that big screens, and you know, they need to up their game, I think, when it comes to this. Now, I do understand, and I need to be careful what I say here, there is a segment of Honda owner, you know, that will maybe shy away from anything technical, you know, because of, dare I suggest, their advancing years. So they do want to make it as easy as possible to navigate. And in some ways, that's what they've done. But, you know, just because, you know, sort of like you have that sort of demographic as your customer, doesn't mean to say that they're inept at using phones. My father-in-law's in his 80s. He uses an iPad like an absolute demon. You know, he puts his BBC iPlayer on it and he watches his football on it, or checks his golf scores or whatever. So there's no reason that this shouldn't be a little bit more advanced than it is. And again, if you want to attract younger buyers, your connectivity needs to be a bit better than this Honda. So I am a little bit disappointed with this. It's quite small. The resolution's not that great. It's a tiny bit grainy, I would suggest. There's 2 physical buttons at the side there for home and back, and then obviously a volume control there, plus tiny little track search button there. You do get wireless Apple CarPlay, and there's also Android Auto, and there's also the ability to Bluetooth across. But again, it's just, I don't know, I just find it all a bit disappointing. You know, it's very big and very clear, and it all works. You know, that's not my issue with it. I just think it needs to be a bit more advanced. That's what I would say. Now, with the plug-in hybrid, obviously you can go in here and you can set up a charging schedule. You know, so if you want to take advantage of cheap rate electricity overnight, for instance, you can program in your charging schedule in here. So you can do that through here as well. One other thing that Honda have done as well is you've got a smartphone app as well. So you can also use a digital key, which you can, you know, so if there's you and your wife or whatever, you know, different people use the car, you know, you can use different users where they can use their smartphone as the key for the car. So that's that. As I say, they've added some technology in it some places, but that I think is a little bit, I don't know, just other people in the class do this so much better, and I find that a little bit disappointing. I don't just find it disappointing because of the price of the car, I just find it disappointing with the other rivals that are out there that do it better. There we go. I just want to talk a little bit about the design of this, which I do like. This lovely honeycomb grille that runs across the dashboard here with these lovely little air vent toggles that remind me of my old Saab. With the toggles, where it's easy to control the airflow direction which comes in from behind that, which I really like. I do like that. And as I say, the comfort is brilliant. I have to say, it's a really comfortable car to sit in. You immediately feel at home. You've got a good range of adjustment on the driver's seat. You've got, you know, reach and rake adjustment on the steering wheel. You know, the pillars aren't too thick. You know, there's good visibility out of the car, but it doesn't feel as big as the Santa Fe that I was driving last week. It doesn't feel as big as that car, but it still feels substantial, and you still have that nice SUV sort of driving position that you get with the car. But the driving position with the steering wheel is really, really good, and everything falls within easy reach. So, summary. Quality's okay. It could be better in certain areas, I agree with that. The functionality of the controls and everything, I really like it. I like that it's ergonomically sound, you know, the way that everything falls nicely to hand. I quite like the way that it looks. It's a nice, you know, it's really nicely designed, but I think the tech lets it down. This should be more configurable. You should be able to do more with this, and that needs to be better. I think it needs to be, as I say, it works fine. I just don't think the aesthetics and what it's able to do is as good as what other people in this class at this price offer. So as I say, it's a real middle of the road effort as far as I'm concerned with the interior of the CRV. Good, but could be better. Right, time to get technical. 2 litre 4-cylinder engine. That's what you get in the CRV, that's it. It either comes as a standard hybrid or this, the plug-in hybrid. Both models produce the same amount of power, 184 PS and 335 Newton meters of torque. It is quite technical, this bit. It is quite complicated. It's a Honda, as you'd expect. Basically, the car has 2 electric motors. One acts as a generator, which sends power to the second one, which can drive the wheels. The engine sometimes doesn't drive the wheels at all. It just provides power to that electric motor, which, as I say, acts as a generator, which then provides power to that electric motor. However, there are certain occasions where it can work in conjunction with the electric motor and provide power to the driven wheels. See what I mean? Very clever, very complicated, very Honda. Now, the other thing that you need to know about the car is towing capability. If you tow, like say a caravan or horse boxes or whatever, it's the plug-in hybrid that you're going to need. The all-wheel drive, which comes on the standard hybrid, believe it or not, isn't the one to have. It can only tow 750 kilos brake trailer. The plug-in hybrid, however, can tow up to 1,500 kilograms of a brake trailer. So that's the one that you want if you're towing with the car. The plug-in hybrid also comes with a 17.8 kilowatt hour battery. Now that should see electric driving range of up to 50 miles, Honda say, which is pretty decent. Now let's say you don't get 50 miles out of it, but even if you were to get 35 to 40 miles of electric only driving, I think that's pretty good. I mean, that could be, as I say, your weekly commute, you know, depending obviously on what you do. If you're doing school runs, nipping to the shops or driving to the railway station or whatever, you might never see the engine come on within that week of driving. So that's all right, I think. And you can save that as well. There's a mode in the car where you can save that power, that battery power, if you like. You know, if you're coming into a city, for instance, you can run just pure on EV range. EV power only. Charging it is from a 7 kilowatt wall box at home, and if you're charging it from flat to full, like I did last night, then you're looking at 2.5 hours to replenish the power in that battery. Now, in terms of fuel economy, Honda suggests out of this plug-in hybrid you should see 353 miles to the gallon. Yeah, okay, you're not going to see that on your dashboard. Don't get excited about that. But in general running, what I'm seeing, just letting it all take care of itself, not trying to play around with it to absolutely eke out that, I am seeing round about 50, just under 50 miles to the gallon out of the car, which isn't bad considering the size, weight, and the fact it's a petrol engine, 4-cylinder engine that's running the car. The other benefit, other than towing, that you get with the plug-in hybrid is its benefit in kind, because the engine only produces 19 grams per kilometre of CO2. So if you're a company car user, you're going to find that of huge benefit going for the plug-in hybrid. So now we're out driving the CRV. How does it feel? Well, it feels perfectly nice. And that is pretty much, to sum up, the driving experience of the Honda CRV. Perfectly nice. Nothing outstanding, nothing intrinsically wrong with it, okay? It's 184 PS. It does the 0 to 62 miles per hour sprint in 9.4 seconds. So again, not exactly what you would call a Civic Type R, is it? But then again, how fast do you want to go when you're loaded up with kids and luggage in the back? I will reiterate what I said in the interior. What really strikes you when you get into the car is how comfortable it feels, the driving position. Really easy to get comfortable behind the wheel. You know, the seat in the right position, the steering wheel in the right position, the wheel itself is nice to hold. It just all feels really good, and everything as it falls, it just kind of wraps itself around you a little bit and falls easily to hand. So I do like that about it. That's one thing to say. Now, if you've got the plug-in hybrid like this, as I said, it is a two-wheel drive car, so front-wheel drive. But what you do get is adaptive dampers. They're not passive or reactive dampers, as Honda call them, that you get on the other cars. So there's more of an adaptive damper on it. How does the ride quality feel? It feels okay, actually. There's a softness to it, and a softness in the sense of comfort rather than wallowy, floaty Herbert of a thing. You know what I mean? It's just it is a bit more. The 18-inch wheels, I think, you know, them not going any higher than that on the wheel diameter was probably the right thing to do, because it's just I would say at the cusp of being just good at. Sorry, it's got these warning systems. If I take my hand off the wheel when I'm going around a corner, it tells me I'm being a bit naughty. So yeah, so the ride quality is just on the cusp of being, you know what you'd say is comfortable, not too firm, not too soft. It's just right, I would say. So I do like the ride quality of the car. I'm led to believe that the other dampers aren't quite, the reactive ones aren't quite as good as this one, but I haven't driven it, so I can't give you an absolute definitive on that. The brakes, I quite like the brakes. The brakes have got, there's a nice kind of firmness to the pedal that I do like. The one thing I'll always say about Honda, every Honda you drive, it's almost BMW-like in the sense it feels very mechanically engineered. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't feel like it's software that's doing it. It feels like it's proper engineering that's gone into it, and you really feel like they've really put a lot of effort and a lot of thought into the car, and making it feel like a car rather than a machine. You know, you can jump in some cars, you know, especially electric cars and more hybrids these days, and everything feels like it's operating with like a switch. This doesn't. It feels like it's oil and mechanicals and stuff that's happening underneath you, and I like that. I do like that about the car. It's a very easy car to live with. It's a very easy car to jump into and just get on with straight away. There's a tiny little bit of road noise from it. That's one negative I will say. You know, as I'm driving, and this is not a coarse surface that I'm on at the moment, but I'm hearing an awful lot of tyre noise from it. And that's maybe to do with the big thick sidewalls, the fact that it's on those 18-inch wheels, those profile of tyres. There's a lot of rubber slapping the tarmac, and I think that's what's the cause of that little bit of road row there. Wind noise is good, wind noise is well suppressed. Mechanical noise, that's what I'm going to talk about next, because this car starts silently. To all intents and purposes, at the moment, I am driving an electric car. It's in EV mode. And I haven't done anything. I haven't switched it to EV, you know, only mode. It's just in the EV mode. And it's driving as purely under electric power now. So as I say, what it's basically doing is it's got two motors. One acts as a generator for the second. So even when the engine's kicking in, it is feeding that generator, if you like, rather than the wheels directly. And that's because what Honda have set the car up to do, what Honda want the engine to do, is operate at its optimum efficiency. And by not driving wheels, by not having the drag of wheels on the road, that is meaning that it's operating under optimum efficiency. But when I put my foot down, it kicks in the engine. Now you can't really tell, and that's the one thing that I found with driving some of these hybrids recently. A lot of them are really, really good at disguising the transition between electric power and engine power. And this is no different. This is a really good car. You do not feel any step change from when it moves from electric to engine, to engine power. It's really good, really very good, I have to admit. Now there are different drive modes, and they're down here, and the plug-in hybrid gets 2 extra modes over the standard hybrid. Let me just get round this roundabout and then I'll have a wee chat to you about that. Concentrate on what I'm doing before Mr. CRV tells me off. Right, so if I move the drive mode, you've got normal, economy, snow and tow. So you've actually got a tow mode as well, which you don't get in the standard hybrid, which is excellent. You know, that's really good. And obviously you've then got this E mode, which if you press E mode, oh sorry, the engine's too cold because I've just started it. Wait attention. So basically that will then basically run the car in electric only mode all the time. It won't kick the engine in at all unless the battery gets to a point where it's so low it needs to get the engine running. So that's what that mode does. Okay. There is also, he says, there is also this B mode as well. So if I flick B mode on, I've now got brake regen via these 2 paddles. Not as strong as you get, not one pedal driving that you get in some EVs, but as you come off you can see the power meter starts to charge, starts to say that it's putting that kinetic energy back into the battery. So you've got that mode as well. So you can really play around with the car. You can really play around with it and change it, and have it set up how you want it. Which again, some people will jump into it and go, yeah, I quite fancy all of that. Sorry, it's got cross traffic alert. It's a really safe car, this. The ADAS systems that are on it are just mind-boggling. It's got cameras up here, and notice even a car that's turning across that junction in front of me, it picks it up and warns you about it. Blind spot warning, all of that type of stuff that you get on the car is standard. Maybe it's a bit overzealous, but that's an argument for another day. The last mode that I want to talk to you about is sport mode that you get on the car. Now normally I don't bother with these. Normally they don't make a huge amount of difference. But it does in the CRV. Or I do think it does in the CRV. Now again, it's not going to turn it into a Civic Type R. But what you do get is a little bit more interaction from it. You do get a sharper throttle response. The other thing you get, I don't know if you can hear that, but it's a digital engine noise. Now it's not, it's like a synthesized noise through the speakers. It's quite fun. I quite like that. I don't mind that at all. I think that's just a bit different. And as I say, it doesn't turn it into this road rocket, but you just get that little bit more urgency in the throttle pedal that just might help, you know. It's quite nice, it's quite pleasant. The steering's got a nice weight behind it. And again, I'm not suggesting it's a car you're going to start throwing down some twisty little back road, you know, at 6 o'clock on a Sunday morning or anything like that, or even do it while you're loaded with your family in it. But it just gives you another facet to the car that means it's a little bit more enjoyable, just in a, you know, get on with the job tool that the CRV, dare I suggest, always seems to have been. What it lacks, however, is the premium feel of something like, say, the Santa Fe, the Hyundai Santa Fe. You know, when I drove that, and I drove that car on a big journey. I was like nearly 6 hours driving that car that day, you know, over through Wales and stuff. And there were times when you're just sat back and you're just, you know, it would just, you know, it just lolloped along, and it was lovely. It felt like a proper big luxury car. This never does. This just feels like, it's very nice, don't get me wrong, but it never feels like it's really cosseting you or taking the effort away from you or anything like that. It just feels like an average car. And I know that might sound a bit derogatory towards the CRV, and I don't want it to, because this is a really nice car. I've really enjoyed having it for the week. But it is one of those absolute middle of the road cars. It's like a navy blue two-piece suit. Absolutely fine for 99% of people, you know. But some people just want a little bit something with a bit more je ne sais quoi in it, a little bit different, a little bit more, I don't know. And that's just where the CRV lacks. There's no wants or gimmies behind it. There's nothing here to really surprise and delight you. It's just dependable, get on with the job, no fuss Honda. And most people will want that. So therefore, it is a good car. It's absolutely fine. Just don't expect much excitement from it. Shall we talk pricing? Go on then, why not? Right, 3 models in the CRV range, really simple range to understand. It starts with the Elegance, and that's a standard hybrid with all-wheel drive. You can't get the Elegance with a plug-in hybrid option, so that's it. And that kicks the range off at £45,930. I'm stopping short of calling it the base car or the lead-in car, because it isn't really, and that's one thing Honda do. They just give you sort of like different sort of like levels within the range, but they're really well equipped as standard. I mean, that Elegance model gets things such as the heated front seats, panoramic glass sunroof, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, all of the advanced driver assistance systems fitted we're talking about, power tailgate, wireless charger, things like that, you know, so it's a really well equipped car. If you want more, however, you can then move from the Elegance to the advanced model, and that comes in at £49,030. So, you know, reasonable jump up, but again, standard hybrid, 4-wheel drive. Okay, so that's it. And that gives you more equipment, such as things like the advanced adaptive headlamps, high beam assist, head-up display, heated steering wheel, stuff like that. Then you get this car, which is the plug-in hybrid, and that's called the Advanced Tech, and that's a plug-in hybrid only with 2-wheel drive, okay? And that comes in at £53,995. So again, quite a jump up in price if you want the plug-in hybrid. This particular car, as tested, is actually £54,990 because it's got the option of metallic paint. But in fairness, like the other 2 cars, there's not really any options you need to add to it, as they're all very well equipped as standard. Now, like I said, this sector of the market, this D segment, medium-sized SUV, is now the de facto family car if you like. And I do appreciate that £50,000 is an awful lot of money to talk about when we talk about family cars. But no new car is cheap these days, and that is where all these level of cars are priced at. So in fairness, £45,000 to £55,000 is this medium sector SUV that people want. And there's a lot in this market space, hence the iPad, because we could be here all day talking about them all. But I've picked out the ones that I think that are worth mentioning, that I think are probably going to be on your radar at this level. The first one I'm going to talk about is the Skoda Kodiaq, because I drove that a few weeks ago on the channel. Really good car, just had a big midlife refresh, new Kodiaq, and for 2024, for the first time available as a plug-in hybrid as well. And like the CRV, it's only 5 seats, so if you go for the plug-in hybrid, you only get the Kodiaq as a 5-seater. If you want 7 seats in the Kodiaq, then you're sticking with the standard diesel or petrol engines. So yeah, so there's the Kodiaq, that's a car to consider as well. Hyundai Santa Fe, drove that the other week. Phenomenally good car, brilliant car, I love that car. Now I get not everyone's cup of tea, the way it looks is dividing opinion with people, but price point, seating for 7, the way the car feels, it's premium quality inside, it's superb, and available as hybrid or plug-in hybrid. 4-wheel drive or 2-wheel drive. You know, well equipped as standard. Better warranty than the CRV. So you've got to consider the Santa Fe. I really do urge you to consider that car if you're in this market space, because that is a phenomenally good car. If you're talking about Hyundai, you've also got to talk about Kia with the new Sorento. It's just had a big midlife refresh, and that's a car that's going to be featuring on the channel soon as well. We've got that car coming in as well for a good test. So we'll also get our head around that. And again, available with up to 7 seats. Kia and Hyundai, I think, are smashing it out of the park in some respects with the way that they've shifted the perception of their brands. And you've got to talk about them at the same level as Honda, Volkswagen. You know, I think they're way ahead of even people like Ford and Vauxhall now. They're way ahead of those in terms of the way they feel. So yeah, they're without doubt got to be considered. And the new Sorento, I think, is a car that's worth considering at this price point. Honda's neighbours in Japan, Toyota, the RAV4. If you think about the CRV, how long it's been around for, the RAV4 is the same. You know, and again, like Honda, Toyota customers, very loyal brand of customers. And of course, Toyota, hybrids have been their thing for donkey's years now, and you get RAV4 as a plug-in hybrid. But with the push-up market in terms of the price of the CRV, it might also bring you into thinking about Lexus, Toyota's cousin, with its NX, because obviously it's the sort of Toyota's luxury brand, if you like. You know, so at the price point, you're probably going to be considering the Lexus NX as well. Good car, why not? Mazda CX-60, another new car that maybe sometimes that gets forgotten about a little bit, but that's new CX-60. That's a car to consider. And of course, if you want the 7 seats, there's the bigger CX-80. And they're still championing diesel engines as well, which is interesting from Mazda. But again, don't forget about them. Also not to forget about is Nissan with the X-Trail. You know, again, it's a manufacturer that we sometimes forget's there. They just go about their job quietly. You've got the Nissan X-Trail to consider as well. Right. Jump back to Europe now. Let's talk about Ford. You know, I'm just never sure where Ford are these days, if I'm honest with you. But they do still sell a lot of cars when it comes down to the likes of the small Puma and the rival for this, which is the Kuga. It's mid-sized issue, and again, it's available in hybridized drivetrain as well. Getting a bit long in the tooth now. Still a good car to drive, and as I say, I'm really not sure where Ford are as a company. But the Kuga, we've got to mention it. It's a big seller. It's a rival for this. So there you go. Volkswagen, the Tiguan, again, like the Kodiaq, big midlife refresh. Good old dependable, reliable Volkswagen. That's there to consider as well. So don't forget about the Volkswagen Tiguan. Now, Stellantis Group, the big conglomerate that has many brands, Peugeot. I want to talk about Peugeot for a bit. They've got 2 cars that they could field in this market space. The 3008, which is a slightly more kind of coupe size of SUV. I'll be careful with that, but very practical car, really good looking car as well. Now, it's not the best car to drive in some respects, but I really love the style of it, and I love the interior of the 3008. That's a superb car, so do have a look at that one, because that's going to be available as a hybrid, as well as the electric one, which I've driven, and it is a good car. And if you want something even bigger than that, There's the 5008, which is going to offer seating for up to 7, and that's going to be electric or hybrid. And I'm going to be driving the 5008 on Auto EV very soon as well, so check that if you want. Also, the Stellantis also incorporates Citroen, and they've obviously got the C5 Aircross, which is again a car that still needs consideration, I think. It's going to be updated, I think, next year. I think it's getting a new model next year, and again they'll follow a similar suit where it'll be hybrid or electric drivetrain. But the C5 Aircross is certainly worthy of a mention, as is Vauxhall with their new Grandland, because that's the equivalent, the Vauxhall equivalent of the Peugeot. So that's going to have, again, seating up to 7. They'll launch as an electric car first, but it will be available with hybrid drivetrain as well. And in terms of price point, in terms of physical size, it's a rival for the CRV. Now, I've not even spoken about things like BMW, Audi, Mercedes, but you understand what I'm saying. There's a huge amount of cars out there available for consideration. And we haven't mentioned Chinese brands such as BYD either, with their new Seal U that's coming out, or MG. There's plenty of choice, is what I'm trying to say. So how does the new Honda CRV fare in a class that is as crowded and as talented as this medium sector family SUV is? Well, I think it fares quite well, actually. I quite like this car, and it's easy to understand why how Honda has the sort of customer loyalty that it has when it continues to build cars that are just fuss-free, reliable and dependable, as the new Honda CRV is. And it's also easy to understand why CRV buyers are as loyal to the car when it's as good as what this car is. Yes, it lacks a little bit of the design pizzazz and the sort of the practicality, and dare I say, the premium feel of the new Hyundai Santa Fe. But it also maybe isn't quite as controversial in the way that that car looks. This is a car that's going to be bought by people who look at what a car can do for them rather than what it says about them, and I think that's always been the key with the CRV. So what we have here is a car that's not the best in the class, but far from the worst. In other words, it's a good, middle-of-the-road, solid, reliable, dependable effort from Honda. In other words, it's Nigel from Accounts. Thank you for watching yet another new car review on House of Cars. As always, please make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Then once you've done that, press the bell button that's down below, because that's the way you get notified of when our next video is uploaded and it's gone live. If you've watched it and you've enjoyed it, and I hope you have, then please make sure you give it a little thumbs up. And of course, don't forget, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think of the new CRV from Honda? Good enough to get your checkbook out for? Are you a current CRV or the older CRV buyer? Would you plump for this one? Have you already plumped for it? What made you choose it? Did you not buy it because of the price point? What did you choose instead? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, as always. Now, I'm also across on Instagram as well, so at House of Cars 1973 if you want to give me a follow there, and I'll try and keep you up to date with everything that's coming new on the channel across on there. But do remember, whether or not it's a new car or an old car, whether it's a small car or a big car, whether it's a slow car or a fast car, you're going to find them all here in the House of Cars. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon.